On.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony, broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios and brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors. And we're talking about the first salvo, one of the first bills introduced this last week at the beginning session of the Minnesota legislature. A key component in this is Senate File 1582, talking about a foreclosure moratorium. And they would like to see it for a 2-year period. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about, they've tried to think about all the things that they need to do. They said, hey, if you can't make your payment, you can just give this official notice
to your
mortgage company, and they've got to keep their hands off for a period of 2 years. You've got to pay.
Then you have to start paying. So you could go through the redemption period without paying, but you can send a notice of stay, and then you have to start making a payment to your mortgage company again in order to stay for that 2 years.
And it's got to be either the mortgage payment, but we know that's not going to happen. So, I mean, I don't even know why they put that in there. If they could be making the mortgage payment, they wouldn't be in this predicament.
Do you think you have to make the mortgage payment or 41% of your gross income, whichever is less?
That's right.
Do you think there's many people out there whose mortgage payment was more than 41% of their gross income? None of it is making sense to me. Now, what kind of negative impact do you think this is going to have?
Well, we talked about some of it already. Number one, it said that because of the moratorium, if you have someone who is an investor who wants to buy and now make that a rental and sit on it for a period of time till values go up and then to sell the home, that person does not have any incentive under this bill to do so, because even they could be given that stay.
That's right.
And they would have to keep their hands off.
So who in their right mind would purchase a property today that they cannot take possession of for 2 years?
And so now they're asking, so think of what they're asking. They're asking someone else who can save the day here. You can obligate and put your money in, but there's nothing you can do to get any money out or to change things for 2 years.
Yeah. Now, Representative Moore in North Carolina would say, I don't think a private citizen should have the right to do that to another private citizen. Right?
Oh, man. But I also think it's just bad legislation because clearly the people who have written this do not understand the idea of a free market. If they do, they don't care. They want to control the market, I think. They apparently want, yes, they want to. They think that there is a problem, and unfortunately, government a lot of times says, well, we can control things and make it better. But most of the time that I've seen, when government does control something, they don't make it better. they truly don't think of the unintended consequences.
Right.
I mean, let's take a look at what we know from our show even. Mm-hmm. Just over a year ago, there were first reports from the Minnesota Association of Realtors that was showing a really great trending in properties that were purported for sale on the MLS.
Okay.
Back a year ago, they had good news. It was right after the first quarter. They said that that the MLS, this was last March, had 38% of all homes listed were due to bank foreclosure. So there was a bank foreclosure, and so
the house went on the market. So 38% of all the listings were due to bank foreclosures.
And so that meant that 62% were not. 62% were people who had who were good on their payment, and they were selling.
They were choosing to sell.
They were choosing to sell, but they couldn't really. They really didn't have an opportunity to dictate a price, because you have this large number, 38%, that are foreclosures that are being
depressed prices
that are causing this other housing stock not to be valued properly. So they were bringing other people who were good. Other people are being penalized because of the great amount of housing stock that was depressed and underwater.
Okay, well then wouldn't a 2-year moratorium help that?
No, the year before that, though, it was 60-some%
were
of
due
the
to
homes
bank
on the
foreclosure.
MLS were due to foreclosures.
So we saw an improvement from 61%, did you say?
From 60-something down to 30-something in a year's time.
All right.
And I think that is a good move. I think before this whole real estate bubble popped, before this economic thing took place 4 or 5 years ago, the number of homes that were listed in the MLS and were done so because of foreclosure, we're only talking a couple percent. Mm-hmm. It was under 5%. Under 5%. So
well, even in a normal market, let's say not in a real estate bubble, but in a normal stable market, it's not much.
Yeah, there's still foreclosures, but it's not to the same degree.
Right.
And so you have all of this housing stock that's continuing to hold pricing down.
Yeah.
Now, if you hold a moratorium, that means you can't get rid of the stock. You can't get it into the hands of other people. And
responsible people who can maintain it and pay the mortgage. And
sometimes I think what needs to be done is, sometimes it's unfortunately like taking off a Band-Aid. It hurts, but sometimes you just got to get to the point where you just rip it off. You don't do it slowly.
So we're already improved considerably from 2010 to 2011. I believe they're predicting fewer foreclosures even occurred in the last year.
I think that'll be the trend.
So it continues to improve. This is going to stop that improvement, isn't it?
I think it will. I think it will to a great degree. And you got to ask yourself, is this really fair to the person who's going through that foreclosure process? All you're doing is you're continuing the bloodletting. They're in a situation that they can't continue in anyway.
Yeah.
They're in something that they can't afford.
Yeah.
And so why cause the housing stock to be depleted? Do you think people that don't have money are putting money into those properties to keep them up? Probably not.
Probably not.
When things are going, they're going to say, "I'm not going to repair that bathtub, and that leak in that one bathroom. I've got 2 others, and I'm going to be out of here in a year and a half."
Yeah.
And so you're going to have those people that are going to continue to not care for the property. And so the people, when they finally do get a hold of them, are going to have something that's going to need much more in repair and attention. I don't see where this is helping at all. Do you?
I don't either, and I'm just kind of shocked that it's even being proposed. Who do they think they're going to help? I mean, I haven't heard any statistics that families who had their homes foreclosed are now living on the streets. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that they're homeless. I've heard that they've helped boost the rental market because they've had to move from their own owner-occupied home to a rental home. But I don't think it's increased the number of homeless on the street.
And what is the bottom line there? They finally got into something that they could afford.
That's right. Which is better for the family anyway.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is, because then their discretionary income is greater.
That's right.
And they have more margins in their life instead of being put to the very last here.
Here's another thing that I worry about with this. There is a process or they're proposing a process for the mortgagee or the new owner to dissolve the stay if the property's being let go and not being maintained, if there's criminal activity on the property. There's reasons that the mortgage company could say, you need to remove this stay because things are not going well on the property. But I wonder how many mortgage companies will pursue that. We're already having trouble with mortgage companies who won't foreclose. And these properties are just lingering, many of them abandoned, and no one can do anything with them. What's going to happen if they start getting all these stays of foreclosure where they have to let the people live? Are they really going to go to the trouble to try and prove this person is not being responsible?
Well, that just, I guess, goes along with what I just said earlier, and that is if we know that for a fact the mortgage companies are taking longer to pull the trigger on foreclosure. So during that time period, that means the homeowner, the person living there, the borrower says, I don't have to make a payment at all. So they continue living there for longer period of time finally, though, when they finally pull the trigger, then they say, now we get a chance
to stay longer.
To have a stay for 2 years. To me,
I'm saying the mortgage company's not going to spend the money to try and kick them out after that. They're just going to sit out that 2-year period. The property will continue to deteriorate. There will continue to be a problem in the neighborhood. And
if you have property continue to deteriorate and you have more of that becoming available, again, that does nothing for the free market. That does nothing for all the good folks who have property that they want to sell and could sell.
Yep.
You know, and the way a sale should take place is what a willing seller and a willing buyer negotiate between the two of them, and neither one of them is under duress.
Yes.
That doesn't happen here. I don't see any good at all with Senate File 1582. And so, folks, what do you think? Are we off our rockers on this one, or would you agree with us that this foreclosure moratorium is just a bad idea?
Or at the very best, just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Call us at 952-224-2668 anytime. Leave a message with your questions and comments.
Yeah. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to be dealing with another issue that cities have with property that is going into a disrepair and becoming a nuisance property. We'll talk to you about what the city of Chicago wants to do next after these messages.